Next on the list, we have an actually decent series, apparently. Nier, what do you have for us?
Wow. So I watched Kimi wa Houkago Insomnia, also known
Yeah.
as Insomniacs After School.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yeah.
this is a manga original done by Leiden Films. Um, this is a romance series. In terms of staff, um, this is, I guess, a relatively big project. So there's like 800 producers. Um, director is Yuki Ikeda. Seems to be their directorial debut.
Which is pretty surprising for this sort
Yeah,
of
they've
series.
done some episode direction on what is this? Mugen no Junin, um, which was, if I remember right, yeah, the Blade of the Immortal anime adaptation, and Arad Gyakuten no Wa, uh, which I don't remember. Other than that, um, they worked a bit on Beelzebub, Arslan Senki, stuff like that. Yeah, this seems to be their directorial debut. Um, Script, series composition, um, Rintaro Ikeda. They've worked on, what is this? Nanatsu no Taizai, um,
Oh, okay.
Hortensia Saga, uh,
They did Ikikoi, right? I think, right?
yeah, Rike
Ri-
ga Koi,
yeah,
Kabuki
like something.
Kicho, Sherlock,
Yeah,
um, yeah, a lot of stuff.
yeah.
Seems to
Science fell
be,
in love. So I was tried to prove it,
yeah,
but it's interesting that they did have pretty heavy involvement in Nanatsu no Taizai, right?
yeah,
So
seems like it. Let's see, Hiromi Ariga, animation director. What else have they worked on? Some of the Crayon Shinchan movies, Shadow's House,
is there is there
86.
is there a general like
Like a common
connection between,
thread. From
or
what
is
I've
it just Light
seen,
of
not
Films just pulling
really.
people
It
together?
seems to be just Leiden Films pulling in
Okay, okay, okay.
general people. It doesn't seem to be like a general,
Mm-hmm.
theme among the staff from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, again, manga original. Manga was done by, hey, look,
Ojiro Makoto.
Makoto Ojiro, um, who did the art and story for this. They've also done Fujiyama-san wa
Oh, I Shinki. Shinki.
Shishunki,
Yes.
uh, Neko no Otera no Chion-san, another I Am Hero comic anthology thing,
Yeah.
um,
I
and
think I remember
some
the
other one
Fujiyama-san
shots.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. The plot synopsis for this is essentially our main character, um, Nakami Ganta, has insomnia, which means he has trouble sleeping at night. Um, and as a result, he's very tired throughout the day. He's basically always falling asleep in class. And as they're working on sort of a school project, he overhears this sort of, I guess, rumor, ghost story about the abandoned observatory that's in the school. And the story is basically, one of the students sort of jumped out of the window of the observatory, and she, died. And as a result of that, one of the ghosts sort of haunts the observatory, and that's why nobody goes up there. And he hears
Mm-hmm.
this and sort of uses it as an opportunity to basically be like, well, nobody's gonna come up here, so I might as well catch some Z's, get some shut eye.
Mm-hmm.
And in the result of that, he finds our female protagonist, Isaki Magari, who
Mm-hmm.
also just so happens to have insomnia. Um, and as a result of that, they sort of come to an agreement to sort of use the observatory as a sort of shared secret space for them to just doze off together, catch some shut eye. Um, and as a result of that, they sort of, grow closer to each other. They develop a friendship, and you know, as a romance series does, they sort of discover that they have feelings for each other, and it goes
Mhm.
from there. Um, the basic story, like overall, is it's pretty simple. Eventually they get caught by one of the teachers and they sort of get forced to, refound the astrology club, right? So they sort of have to, you know, do astrology club activities, take logs, so that way the school doesn't, kick them out, basically, of the observatory. Um,
Mhm.
and as a result of that, um, the main character Nakami sort of develops a bit of passion for nighttime photography, right?
Yes.
And um, the the female main character Isaki sort of she doesn't really have that much interest in astrology. She's kind of just there to um, root for the MC in that regard. Obviously, she finds the night sky very pretty and stuff, but uh, her motivations for the astrology club are more of just like keeping the observatory. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, the main character's sort of passion for nighttime photography um, ends up introducing one of the supporting characters, um, which is I think like one of their upperclassmen who was a former member of the old astrology club before it got shut down, and she's also somewhat of a you know a loner, um, night owl kind of character, and they all sort
Mhm.
of um, have this shared you know uh, night owl sort of relationship, and the ability to sort of share their hobbies together with this general bond of you know not really sleeping much at night, right?
Mhm.
um, and as the series goes along, it sort of goes into um, some minor um, I
Trivia?
guess yeah, so there's quite a bit of trivia in this. It's not like super deep trivia. It's sort of like, surface level stuff, but there's some photography trivia. They deal with, ISOs, shutter speeds, exposure, lengths, essentially
Mhm.
how it sort of goes into how night photography is quite a bit different from, normal
Oh,
photography,
okay. Huh.
and how, in order to capture, say, if you want to capture those pictures of the night sky where um, the stars are like streaks of light. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Obviously, you have to set a very long exposure time because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
stars don't typically move very fast, right? So
If you have somebody, even if you have somebody with, say, a white shirt, right, and a super dark background,
yeah,
you have to, even with advanced phones right now, you have to still kind of keep taking the picture for at least a minute or so for the picture to be properly kind of set.
yeah. So they go into a decent amount of trivia for that. It's obvious that like either the author either knows what they're doing in terms of um, like night photography, or they consulted
Mhm.
somebody. Um,
Yeah.
because
I
there's
wouldn't
a
be
lot of
surprised if they had a hobby because
yeah,
a lot of people have that. So.
because the a lot of the I guess sort of like inner conflict right now with the main character is sort of because the like main goal right now for the club that they're doing,
Mhm.
that like their teacher has sort of set them up with, is there is a sort of like nighttime photography competition, right? Like a local thing, right? Um, and he sort of, you know, is given the goal of entering it, and if he wins, then obviously the club will get a bonus in funding, right? Um,
Mhm.
and with the bonus in funding, they can, you know, renovate um, the observatory a bit more, make it a bit more comfy, stuff like that, right? And so the sort of inner conflict that he's going through right now is he's very new to photography, right? It's basically something he's just picked up. And even though he has a very experienced photographer sort of teaching him the ropes, he's still sort of struggling with the, um, I guess, perfectionism that a lot of people have when they sort of initially pick up a sort of artistic focused hobby, right? Like photography
I know what
or
you're talking about.
drawing.
Yeah, exactly. They
So
have to
he's
get everything yeah.
yeah, so he'll be taking a lot of pictures, right? But so one will be one will be slightly out of focus, right? So the stars will be a little bit, um, the stars will have a little bit of a streak on them, or the exposure will be too long, so it's a little bit washed out. Or you can see, if you have too high of an exposure on a picture, it's sort of taking when you're taking a picture of something like stars, right? They're basically just light, right? It's pure light.
Mhm.
And if your exposure is a bit too much, you end up getting these sort of like grains between the stars, right?
It
And
becomes blurry, yeah.
yeah, it can sort of dilute the picture. And the female MC Isagi is seeing these pictures and saying, they're really good, like they're really pretty, and the MC is like, no, they're garbage, you know what I mean? Like they suck, because they've got these minor flaws in them, and he's sort of struggling with getting that perfect picture, um, and even the supporting character that's sort of teaching him the ropes of photography is like, you know, it's sort of like an intuition thing, you got to take a lot of pictures to sort of get used to what the perfect camera settings are going to be given, a certain night. Every night is going to be different, whether which in regards to how bright the stars are, you know, whether the clouds are going to be coming in at any given moment, um, you know, the specific time of day, the location, how high you are, you could be on a mountain or a hilltop or lower to the ground, or obviously, if you're in the city, the
Mhm.
stars aren't going to be as bright, stuff like that. Um, and the main character is sort of grappling with, um, getting that perfect picture to submit to this competition, and him sort of being like, self-conscious of all these um, pictures he's taking, stuff like that. But
Right.
overall, the main like focus of it is very much just the character interactions between these two main characters, and it's a romance series, right? And
Yeah, there's like
it's
30%, there's 20-30% ish where it has the trivia and the looking over it, but then there's an
yeah,
even within
majority
that
of it.
those scenes, there's a transition back to the romance parts where
Yeah,
there is an intermingling of the romance parts. A lot of it's the girls doing the girls talk and the boys doing the boys talk, and kind of in between that as well. It's
yeah.
a lot of
Um,
that.
so there's a lot. There is like even in those scenes where the main character is sort of taking these pictures, you know, and it's showing these pretty night skies and stuff. It's still constantly drawing back to the interactions between these two characters, and then him sort of you know maybe he wants to take a picture of her because obviously he sees her and he's like, she's super pretty and he wants to take a picture of her. Um,
Mhm.
and there's just these constant interactions where it's very much a teen, high school romance where it's very, very, very obvious that
Mhm.
these two characters both have like huge crushes on each other, but they don't
Mhm.
really know how to um, like solidify that or communicate that to each other. So, they're constantly just stealing these glances at each other. And, whenever the two of them catch each other staring at each other, they just look away and they blush. Or, you know, one of them goes to say something and then they just, it gets sort of caught in their throat or whatever. And they say, oh, never mind, or I'll tell you later or whatever. Um,
What I
but,
what I'm okay with, well, not okay with, but what makes this a little bit more tolerable is the fact that it's not going for the standard. Oh, there's some other rival coming
yeah.
in, and they're going
So,
to push the shit out of
yeah,
the
so
momentum of the
what
story.
I really, really like, probably my favorite part of this series is there's
Mhm.
no drama. There's no drama.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like there's a scene in I think like episode 4 or something where one of the main character's classmates like sees him at night, right? Um,
Hmm.
and he sort of confronts him in the bathroom and he's like, "Hey man, I caught you out at night. Um, and it looked like you were in a real hurry. Like that's kind of suspicious, huh?" And it sort of sets up this like, thing where it's like, this one character is going to be sort of a like antagonistic role, right? But then it
Rival.
immediately cuts that off
Mm.
by the teacher is in the bathroom and he overhears this conversation and that kid gets in trouble, right? And it's basically like that gets dropped pretty much immediately, right? Um,
Oh.
so there's
Which is
sort of
also
these,
realistic, by the way.
yeah,
Like,
right,
surprise, real life things.
yeah,
Like, there's not
Well,
school-wide
yeah,
drama
I
that
mean, like
happens for
even
a year.
if yeah, I mean, even if that rumor like started to spread, it'd just be like, okay, and like
yeah.
teacher, a teacher would be like, yeah, like what were you doing? Oh, nothing. Okay, well,
Yeah.
time to nip this in the bud. Like,
Yeah. Stop being
So
nerds. Yeah.
yeah,
I would say
it's very much
my question for you though too would also be on a similar note, I guess, with the drama would be the first episode when I had watched it. It kind of does open in a way where I felt it was kind of melodramatic, and I was wondering like kind of how fast that gets dropped in a way. Like the opening kind of felt
in what regards?
I just felt like a lot of like the monologue in the beginning was kind of like he was like I'm weird. I'm fucked up. Like this is crazy what's happening to me. I'm so different. And it's like, bro, you just don't sleep. Like relax.
So yes, so the insomnia is sort of treated a bit heavy-handed. It that gets like it's not as in episode 1, it's very heavy-handed, right? It's like they sort of introduce insomnia as like some sort of incurable disease. Um, it's like these characters are living in a world where sleeping pills don't exist. You know what I mean? Um,
Or I don't know, maybe not being on your phone 2 inches from your face while in bed at
yeah.
night. Just
They
saying.
so they acknowledge that almost immediately afterwards. With like
Okay.
the phone thing, to where it's like the main character literally says like, yeah, I read like the blue light of your phone just completely fucks with your sleeping. So instead I've been trying to read books, and stuff like that. Um, and it still doesn't help. You know what I mean? Like he can lay there for hours, literally like with his eyes closed. He just can't sleep. Um, and
Mhm.
it's sort of as the series goes on, it sort of delves into both of the characters' insomnia stemming from anxiety, right? Um,
That's okay. That's fair.
and different like anxiety stemming from different sort of issues in their life.
Right, right.
The anxiety for the main character is sort of treated as like sort of this repressed memory that he has of his mother, and I won't spoil it or anything. Um, and then the anxiety for the female lead is sort of um, anxiety that she had, from the past due to her health, and this is sort of a shared anxiety that they use to deepen their bond even further. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, it is initially sort of they do sort of treat like insomnia as this weird like you know because even um the teacher that is sort of overlooking and supervising their like club activities, if I remember right, is like the school nurse, right? um and it's kind of weird how the main character is very open about the fact that he has insomnia with the school nurse. And it's sort of weird how the school nurse is like, maybe you should, I don't know, take sleeping pills or something. Um, she doesn't like say that, and instead she's like, yeah, maybe your insomnia means something. It's like, what? What are you talking about? It's like, the way they treat the insomnia is a bit strange. But it's sort
It's
of
kind of
just,
weird because I think the interesting thing about this series is that it starts it initially marketed itself as sort of the insomnia based series, right? It's PR, right? And
yeah,
then it kind of, as you said, focused on the rom com plus, or not rom com, the romance aspect plus a little bit of the photography, like full Tamayura style, right?
yeah,
And then, but it's still trying to run that insomnia theme on the backline and trying to intermingle it with the character development slash romance at the same time. So it's almost doing a dual theme thing, but I don't think the author potentially is maybe treating insomnia in a way where it might be a little bit more fitting for the gravity of that sort of condition, right? Is what
Yeah.
I'm getting? Yeah.
So the insomnia, as far as I can tell, like the way the author's using it, is sort of a tool to sort of um
Further the romance.
isolate um the two main characters, right? It is sort of because
Mm, right.
the female lead doesn't want anybody to know about her insomnia, right? Um, again, largely, I think it's due to like, sort of a self-conscious like feedback loop, due to her previous like health issues, and how those have affected her. She doesn't really want people to like know about this other issue she has or whatever, and um so she feels kind of like alone in this struggle, right? About like, not being able to sleep at night. And then she finds the main character and then she sort of has this, shared issue. Um, and it's like it's sort of used as like a tool to, you know, A, get them out at nighttime, right? To have these sort of whimsical moments together where nobody else is around and, they can, stare at each other with the shining of the night sky and stuff like that. Um, and B, to sort of, you know, keep their um sort of, lovey-dovey bonding uh a bit separated from the rest of the cast, right? The rest of the cast has sort of picked up on, you know, the obvious chemistry that these two have going on.
Right.
And, these sub characters are sort of nudging them towards each other in a very realistic way,
Hmm.
which I like a lot. But,
Again, it's kind of
uh,
like a girl's talk and a guy's talk
yeah,
situation.
like there's a moment where um, the main character is like one like his best friend basically, like it's his one friend because he's a bit of a
Mhm.
loner, right? um they both go and visit the photographer character to sort of, um the main character wants tips about, some pictures he had just recently taken. And in the middle of that, Isaki, the female lead, sort of shows up, and in the blink of an eye, the main character's friend sort of dips out, and he basically like, mumbles something to himself like, there's no point in third wheeling. You know what I mean? So it's very obvious that pretty much everybody around them is sort of aware that these two are just gravitating towards each other. It's just when exactly they'll sort of um, confess, kind of thing. And
Hmm.
you know, as it is very gushy romance series, so it's pretty obvious that eventually they will. Um,
So the next question is, I this is a manga original, right?
yes,
And obviously I think the 12th episode has released now, like just released or something like
this
that.
is 13 episodes apparently.
Okay, okay.
Um,
So there's 13 episodes, and I'm wondering about how it'll resolve in the anime. I think this is quite important with regards to series like this, right?
yeah. So I haven't looked into the manga personally, but
Okay.
I did a little bit of digging, and so within the last like few episodes, right? Um,
Mhm.
the main character and the female lead have sort of scheduled this camping trip, right? Where they're gonna go.
Okay.
I forget where, but they're gonna go somewhere and they're gonna catch um, nighttime photos, right? And both of the characters have sort of invited some of their friends along, but pretty much all of them have been like, no, you too can go. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and from what I've read of people that are sort of discussing this show and talking about the episodes as they come out, um, it seems like this camping trip is a very pivotal like moment in the manga, right? So I have a feeling,
Oh, okay, okay, I
yeah, I
see.
have a feeling they're going to go on this camping trip. They're probably going to either, you know, lock eyes with one another each other and confess, or they're gonna hold hands, or whatever,
Then it zooms up
right?
into the sky,
And then
right?
yeah, it's gonna go
Exactly.
up into the sky, and the credits are gonna roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
What if
it's very very
alternatively they fall asleep at night?
that's
Yeah.
very
You ever think of
And
that?
then
that could be
it still
huge.
zooms up to the sky,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
it
credits
fades
roll.
back to
Credits
yeah.
roll
No,
after
no,
they
no, no,
get
no.
out of their tents in the morning at sunrise.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Well
or
slept.
even what they do is another variant of it is they sleep, it rolls through the night sky, and then it transitions into the daytime, and it comes back down, but it's at school, and they're like talking with the schoolmates, like, "What happened?" Blah blah blah, and it's gonna be that variant, right? That's
Yeah,
also a
yeah.
standard. Yeah.
So that's very likely going to be the final episode, right?
Okay. Yeah. I can believe that.
Which is probably um really one of like the optimal ways to do, I think, a series like this,
Mhm.
where it's very
Especially
much
if you don't want
romance
to bet
focused.
on, especially if you don't want to bet on trying to mess with the anime content versus the manga content,
Yeah.
right?
Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
I can see it, panning out pretty standard, but like still good. You know what I mean?
But the
Um,
foundation was good. The foundation was good, is
yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Um, that is sort of the vibe I get from this series is that like, you know, the the trajectory of the overall series isn't like, you're not really going to be shocked by anything in this.
Mhm.
Um, but like the baseline foundation of this is just so good that it's like, it's so like cute and cozy, and all of the interactions are just like, positive vibes like constantly, right? And the
Mhm.
art is really pretty. The audio visuals of this show, which I haven't even talked about, are really really good. um the color palette is
Yeah.
fantastic. The character acting is very very good. Everything is like just very consistent. um
Mhm.
it's just a very good series in my opinion. And you know what you're getting in. um like what you're gonna get as you get in, and
Mhm.
it delivers like very well, I
Yeah,
think.
the package is very well. It has a red ribbon on top.
Yeah. um yeah, overall, it's I think that's really all I have to say about this. um
Mhm.
just a minor thing on, I guess, audio visuals. Again, like visually very good. I think the music is pretty standard. Like it's a little bit forgettable, I think, but it does its
Mhm.
job. Um, OP I like a lot. Um, the ED is a bit interesting. It's got so the ED is it sort of has like the photography vibe, right? Like it's a lot of just shots of the female lead, with I guess
Mhm.
the obvious implication being the MC is taking the shots. But it's got this like weird like 2-second shot of like live action footage of like somebody messing with a camera, and it's like, did you guys just not want to draw a camera, or what? It's
Yeah,
really
because
strange.
usually they have this thing where, for instance, if somebody's taking a timed self, group shot, right, where they'll usually have the scene in an opening in an anime, or maybe even in an actual scene where they're all going out to like a riverside, for instance, right?
Yeah,
And the one of the you'll have the scene where they're adjusting this camera stand or whatever, and it's like, everybody get up in front, and then the girl who's done adjusting the camera just runs out in front, and
yeah.
everybody takes the group shot, right? There's usually a scene like that, but you're saying like they did something like that, but live action, kind of.
Sort of, but like the live action shot is literally just like somebody sort of like messing with the focus, and like, like
Oh,
it's just
that's
like,
weird.
yeah, it's just like a shot of a camera, but they didn't want to draw a camera, so they just
They
they
don't
just
have the
recorded.
time. They ran out of budget.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
recorded one for a little bit. It's weird. It doesn't look bad, but it's like
Yeah.
it's just a bit like, huh?
It's art.
That
It's
that was weird.
artistic direction
Yeah.
here. That's
Um,
the-
but yeah, it's just a bit strange. But yeah,
they're being
overall,
auteurs.
um, very, very pretty.
Mhm.
There's a scene on, I think it was episode 6 or 7, something like that, where they go on this like school like school camping trip, right?
Mhm.
And then the two characters sort of sneak out to the beach in the middle of the night. The main character sort of wants to take pictures, and there's this moment where, they're running around um, in the water, right? And they're
Mhm.
having fun and stuff. And the main character sort of looks at the female protagonist, and they sort of do this thing where the sea is like supposed to be still, right? And so you could sort of see the reflection um, of the stars on the ocean, right? And the way they
Right.
do it is sort of just they do this scene where they're sort of like standing in a like sea of stars, um,
Oh,
and
okay,
it's
okay.
really really pretty.
Mhm.
They do a very good job of these like very whimsical, um, young teen romance sort of um, you know, visuals. Like it's very very good.
It's almost
Um,
like some of the Shaft and Silverlink anime of old that you're reminiscing about, where, for instance, something like Bakuto Test, right? They had
yeah,
these
yeah,
mini skits where they had little like diagrams and little things, skits, right? Where they had different art styles.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I
I'm
think
flip
this is
towards it.
definitely a series that very much captures like young romance, like very very well, and it really helps
Mhm.
that the series is very wholesome. There's no dumb like shojo love triangle. There's no
I was your
drama
childhood
from
friend, remember? And then
yeah,
comes in,
there's
yeah.
no drama from some outside source where it's like, the parents are like, no, you aren't allowed to see each other because you need to sleep at night. It's like, like these are just two teenagers, and they're very obviously in love, and they're just it's just a matter of when they sort of uh come out with it. Um,
Mhm.
it's a very sweet series. I definitely recommend um if you're looking for something like that. But yeah,
So
But
they
yeah.
don't have school sleep-related powers.
no, no, not really.
So, but they have the power of insomnia, right?
If you call that a power, sure, yeah.
So you're saying if they have the power of insomnia, they would be the final survivors, right?
I, in
If they were, like, let's just say they were fighting against a certain demon of sleep.
sure, I guess, yeah, yeah.
So,
If
so you're saying they would defeat Freddy Krueger, right?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Because I'm thinking of like you brought up, oh, they have the power of insomnia, and they can't sleep, and there's a ghost. And I was like, hold on, let him
Yes,
cook.
there's no so
No,
there's no supernatural stuff in this.
lame.
I remember when we were covering this in the previews, like I was worried, because the synopsis like really like hammered home the like ghost story kind of thing, and I was really worried there was gonna be like some weird supernatural element to this, but there's not. So
What's the other?
The ghost should have appeared out of the water with the Sea of Stars scene. Okay, I said it.
yeah, yeah.
What's that one show with the chick, the little chick with the white dress? What's that series called?
Anohana?
Yeah, it's not Anohana. It's just a regular
No.
ghost.
Yeah, it is just normal people.
It's
There are
just
no ghosts.
That's what he means by
Memo just
regular
pops
ghost.
up.
A regular ghost is just a
I don't
word
know,
for
Yeah.
it.
man. I would have preferred. I kind of would have preferred a ghost at this point.
I wouldn't. I think we've
What if
had
there was a ghost in Anthem of the Harp, bro?
I think we've had enough of
Ghost.
these fucking romance series with like ghosts or supernatural bullshit or
Bro, are
whatever.
you? Do you not like Iruzuka Sekai and the magical aquarium and Akatova and stuff?
Fuck me, man. Like,
Hey, man,
PA is gonna show up with something good soon, someday.
yeah, they're gonna show up with another fucking like, oh, I mean, I fell in love with this girl, but in the last 2 episodes, Men in Black came and kidnapped her for no reason, and now my show is bad. Oops. Fuck you.
Isn't that
Fuck you,
I
just
like-
CA
Wait a
Works.
minute. Wait a minute.
I like
isn't that just
how
Higurashi? What am I thinking of?
Men in Black Space Observatory?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Also near,
yeah. What if
near,
that's what happens on the camping trip? What
near
if
a girl getting kidnapped by the Men in Black? That's just Data Live season 2.
Yeah.
What are spirits but ghosts? Because they appear from another dimension here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, what I find funny is that for Clannad, for instance, right? Even Clannad fans oftentimes make fun of the whole the snow world, right? The
I
dream
don't.
snow
What are you
world or
talking about?
whatever.
That's a cool concept. It was explained by that one character. It's not. It's not a ghost world near or
It is
fire.
not a ghost world. It is like
It's
supposed
not
to
a
be this sort of
ghost.
like.
Or
I
is
know
she?
it's not a ghost. I know it's not a ghost. I've never. I
It's
don't say.
kind of
I didn't
it's
say. It.
kind of dumb though. Like,
Yeah, but people make fun of it. Like, let's be real with it. People make fun of it, right? And we have the snow world,
What
and it's
people?
like, and you know, it's part of the
It's
whole sparkles in the city,
It's
and it was
parallel
related to that.
universes. Spire. That's not. It's not ghosts.
Yeah, I suppose I know it's supposed to be a parallel universe, and it's related to like the sparkles in the city and all that crap, right? And people made fun of that, and then they didn't make as much fun of like the weird shit in Little Busters, although the shit in Little Busters was pretty weird in the visual novel initially as well. When they were also chasing around like the two siblings for the first ending or whatever the crap it was.
yeah.
But anyways, but having that being made fun of, and then seeing all this crap with Irozuku and all these other P works and all these things where, where it's like,
Oh
oh,
no, Spire!
supernatural. Yep.
Spire, you're imploding. Oh
Yeah,
no.
sorry.
But
Sorry, I'm back.
yeah, it's like you
Having
think
all
they
these
would
like
have learned,
supernatural
right?
whales appear and go and oh, that will spur up your romance. It's just come on, just have a regular romance. You don't need supernatural whales. Okay, this is not.
I mean, even if you want to do the supernatural stuff, I feel like with stuff like Clannad and Little Busters, it's like they sort of have this initial illusion where it's like, yeah, this is a normal series. Just kidding. Here's supernatural stuff. And it's like
Mhm.
you could just have a supernatural story. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why I liked Angel Beats a lot more than I
Mhm.
probably like should have with how like rushed some of it was at the end, right? But it's like the supernatural stuff in Angel Beats was set up like minute one. You know what I mean? Like it was immediate. Like this is a story set in what is, assumed to be, the afterlife, right? It's like some sort of heaven, right? Or
Mhm.
purgatory or whatever, right? It wasn't like, yeah, we're just doing normal school stuff. Just kidding. We're in purgatory. It's like, no, like
Yeah,
it set that up immediately. And that was sort of
yeah,
the crux of the story,
yeah.
um,
And it kind of wielded. I mean, how do I say this? The powers in that story were wielded to create a more surreal world, but it wasn't to necessarily always depict a super grandiose picture. It wasn't some Urobuchi shit where Gen Urobuchi near the end of his series is always trying to depict this grandiose fight between the greed of whatever,
yeah,
right?
like the
It's
fucking
the upper
the
classes
grand will of
versus
the cosmos versus
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the magical
the
girl.
greed of humanity or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? Stuff like that. It wasn't really like that. Um, it was just trying to create a surreal world, and then at the end, it had the sort of PA Works slash Junmaida sparkly magic, right? So that was a little bit different. Um, but I'm glad that this series at least was able to make a subtle, well, not subtle, but a much more realistic series without all the drama and the
Yeah.
sparkles and stuff, and still make a solid series based on what it wanted to do.
But yeah.
But yeah, any last
Um
words?
I highly recommend. I give it a solid 8. 8 out of 10.
Pretty good. All right. Thank you very much, Nier. And that was again, what was it? It was Kimi ga Hokugo Insomnia or Insomniacs After School. It is a light film adaptation of a manga original. So check it out if you want.